to start first and just talk a little bit about, you've been in the display industry for so long, and you've been the expertise that us press have turned to find out more about the specialist area in monitors and TVs. What are the big long-term trends that we should be following?
Well, to me, I've been in displays, as you say, 4 decades, just over 4 decades, since you could have any colour monitor as long as it was amber or green. And at every stage, I very rapidly realised that everybody thinks that whatever you have today is good enough. I remember arguing when I was at IFA in the finance department, and I said, you need graphics to do a graphics monitor for Windows. And he said, I just do accounting. All I need is text. I don't need graphics. I don't need it. And he didn't understand, even though his whole business was selling graphics. And so at any one moment, everybody thinks that whatever we have is good enough. It never is. Because you turn around the corner and you see the next big thing, and you say, oh, wow,
It blows your away.
blows you away. Yeah. Because in the end, the display is a way of communicating between a system and a person. Until we kind of maximise the bandwidth into the brain, you've always got room for bigger screens, more resolution, more brightness, more dynamic range.
And actually, the conservatism of the television business is quite a bit more resistance than you have, for example, on the IT side, where they embrace this a bit more.
Yeah, it is, despite being hugely technology driven, it's very conservative because in the end it's a financial business.
So we've heard a lot of people who said, oh, you don't need 4K. And here we are talking about 8K, but as you say, the problem is people don't know what it is they want until they see it, This makes a huge difference. So where did the idea for 8K come from? How did we get it?
Well, it started with the research in Japan by NHK, and they did a lot of tests on what resolution you needed to tell an image from reality. So it was never about comparing with other video. They actually used real objects and then images of real objects and kept upping the resolution so people couldn't tell the difference. So 8K was worked out back from what screen size do you think we'll have in 2020? This was all based around the idea of building an ecosystem for the Tokyo Olympics. And what do you need to convince people that they're looking at reality? They're not looking at the screen, they're looking at reality. So that's where it came from.
I remember actually the demos, and they were so impressive then, and I was hooked on 8K right from there, from the minutes that I saw that. So, and again, the challenge always has been when you move to a new high resolution content, and how are we going to get over that hurdle? Chicken, egg, which one?
It's an old story, and it's not a new story. But I was amazed last week to see a press release from Omdia, market researchers. They say that 1 billion 4K TVs have now been sold.
1 billion 4K TVs. Well, that kind of puts the naysayers in their place.
And so, how much 4K have you got? How many 4K channels have you got?
I wouldn't know.
Oh, I've got one.
Yeah,
I'm really keen.
yeah,
So it doesn't really matter whether there's broadcast content,
yeah.
because people buy the sets anyway.
Yeah.
And from a retail point of view, from a sales point of view, TVs are strange because although they're technology and devices, they're also furniture. People really care how the TV looks when it's on. There are ways of the room. It's not just when it's on. In fact, there was one of the previous chairs in place, the video stand. My exciting guy, one of the best display guys I know in the world. His wife chose it to be because it had to fit there. I'm furnishing. TV is furnishing.
Yeah.
But people also see TV as a big investment. When they buy a TV, they think it'll keep it for longer than they do. They're thinking about 5, 6, 7 years. So very often they want to buy it in the future. They want to buy what's good today and buy something that's going to be more
Good for a few years, right?
And the other big trend that we're seeing in the last few years is this moved to more and more immersiveness. People want more immersive media experiences, whether that's an IMAX, whether that's the Sphere, so out of these huge LED video walls. I was looking at the concert in Munich by somebody the other day. Huge one, world record for the biggest LED.
Yeah, yeah.
So people want those immersive experiences, and increasingly they want them in the home. And when you get bigger screens, that's when you need the more resolution. Honestly, if you've got a 42-inch TV, you don't need it. No. If you've got a 55-inch, you don't need it. But as people get to bigger and bigger screens, they start to need the higher resolution to make the picture look really good.
I think part of it is too, is people go out into the world, they have these immersive concert experiences, or immersive Disney experiences, or immersive sports experiences, and then when they go home, they want to recreate something. They want to be a part of that and feel a part of that, you know? And I think that's what gives impetus to things like 80K. People really think that, gee, this reminds me, it makes me feel like I'm doing it.
I was lucky enough to go to the Intel demos of 8K streaming from the Paris Olympics about a month ago. And it's really amazing when you see those broad scenes. And somebody said to me recently, the thing about 8K is you don't have to zoom. You can let the viewer zoom so they can focus on the piece of the picture that they really are concerned about, that they really want to enjoy. And so you have to produce differently. It's a new medium.
Sure.
But when you see those sports events in such detail, it's quite amazing. Ravi from Intel, who's behind a lot of the 8K work at Intel, talks about seeing a judo fighter losing a contact lens and actually seeing the contact lens. Wow. Oh man, you really.
It's over there, I can see it. That's actually quite funny.
Yeah, so those sporting sports is particularly relevant for it.
Yeah. Sports is often pushing and leading technology into good areas, and thank God for it.
Yeah,
It's part of my
But
concern.
if you go with a lower resolution screen and go up to these big screens, you really don't consider those. Get benefits. The other thing is gaming. People use their TVs more and more for gaming.
Yeah.
And gaming is a lean-in experience. TV is a sit back, lean back experience. But gaming is the lean-in, and then you get close to the screen. You want that true immersion. That's when the curved screens still being demonstrated over in the City Cubic process. Because that immersiveness of living in the game is really important.
It's actually a nice way to feel like you're actually going to perform better again.
Yeah, you're actually involved in
Let's talk for a minute now about content creators, how they do 8K, and then, I mean, there's millions of content creators now, all becoming content creators. So how do they see it?
8K has three components. One component is the ability to really write on after you capture it. Sometimes you don't get the zoom lights. If you capture the whole thing, you can zoom in later without losing much quality.
Right.
And in fact, I've seen some interesting technology demos where instead of having lots of camera crews at a sports venue, you'll have a small number of 8K cameras, feed everything back by fiber to a central control, and then do the zooming effectively
Back there.
From the 8K content. Formula One these days does all its content creation and production in Kent.
Wow.
When a Formula One race moves, cameras move, but all the content is sent back by fiber and it's produced in the UK. And part of the reason for that is green. It's cut a number of containers of equipment. Sure. They need to ship down for Formula One races.
And money said that.
Absolutely, but you've got to capture the detail.
Sure. But the technology, the 8K technology is enabling them to do one thing is to help the viewer, save the money, and to be green.
That's right. You also get the advantage that we haven't got time to talk about digital sampling theory.
Right.
But, you know, you don't sample audio
Yeah.
at their frequency we hear it.
No.
You sample audio, 15 kilohertz audio at 48 kilohertz.
Right.
So even if you produce in 4K, if you capture an 8K and then downsample it, you actually get better 4K than you have with a 4K sample. So there are real advantages there, and that's one of the reasons that people are going up to even 12 and 16K cameras, because they want downsample huge labor.
Right. It gives you a way that you have without a AK, but if you need the downsize, you can do it with this, and with advantages.
And there are a lot of 8K capture devices. You know, there are over 200 models of smartphone that can capture 8K.
It's wonderful. And let's talk for a minute, because you used to work for ISO, which of course is a world famous quality monitor maker, and that. How do the display manufacturers feel about AK?
Well, their challenges is intriguing because an 8K, a big 8K TV is 75 inch, is about the same technology as full HD notebook. It's just you've got to make 16 of them in one sheet of glass.
Yeah.
So technically, there's no real problem. Problem is yield.
Yeah.
If you have 1 in 16 of your screens are fail in manufacturing, if you're chopping them up into 16 pieces,
yeah,
you keep 15 and throw one away.
Right.
If you're making one 8K and you get one defect, well, you've lost the whole thing. So that's the challenge at the moment.
Yeah.
But the defect rate goes down with the number you make. The more you make, the fewer the defects. And of course, TVs are being pumped out in vast numbers every year. The technology is basically the same. The yield gets better and better and better. So the price will come down. The second big factor is that you'll find that there are very few OLED 8K sets. Now, display mavens like me love OLEDs,
Right.
but there aren't many 8K OLEDs. They do exist, but they're incredibly expensive. And that's because people don't talk about it, but OLEDs are much more difficult to make in the backplane. The transistors, TFTs, are 3 to 5 times more complex than for LCD. So one of the things that the LCD makers have is an advantage over the OLED makers. The OLED makers can't catch up if they do 8K. So while they're mainly focused on mini LED at the moment, they will come back to 8K because they can, and because OLED can't.
Right.
And that what it can't without huge difficulty. You know, it's between 300 and 500 million transistors on the back of an 8K OLED TV. It's ridiculous.
It's just stunning, isn't it? Think about it.
Even an LCD is amazing. You know, there's 100 million transistors on that.
And eventually it ends up at Walmart for $4.55. I mean, go figure. With
Yeah.
all those transistors. So let me just put up the slide, the next slide. The next slide. Let me put up the next slide. I'm speaking in code to the back.
Oh, we've gone on to the next presentation.
Next presentation, no?
No.
Next slide. There we go, we'll get back there.
Yeah, this just shows
Right.
the ecosystem, how much is going on, how many big companies are involved in creating, capturing, encoding, delivering, decoding. And that means there's opportunity for all kinds of sales. You know, one of the things about 8K, you mentioned that everything ends up on the market for $180.
Yeah.
The thing about 8K is it does help you to differentiate. It helps you to sell up. It helps you to keep your revenues high. And 8K TVs, when we talk to consumers as the 8K Association, we often talk about the fact that the 8K TV is almost certainly the best TV in the range, which means it's not just going to be good in terms of the resolution.
Right.
It's going to have high dynamic range, it's going to have good color, it's going to have great sound, it's going to have the best video processing. So 8K can become a shorthand for the best.
Yeah.
You know, it's the flagship because you don't put an 8K display, which costs a lot of money, into a bad chassis. Right.
It's the premium product.
It becomes a way of identifying the premium product.
Your slides keep wanting to move on me, but.
Yeah, that's what I meant to refix.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yes,
So, but this
Don't
one, we'll let them do that.
Yeah.
I just hope it doesn't drag it.
No.
So, but here, in terms of content capture and editing, you can see all the famous brands that,
Yeah, I mean, our members include people like Red and Amazon Prime. We've got an 8K suite in Hollywood for editing. And there are other things, things like Flightline who do the massive capture, the launches in 8K.
Correct.
For archive purposes. So.
And here we have the encoding, distribution, decoding.
Yeah, and only last week Intel said that their new processors, which they're launching here, had VVC decoding.
Yeah.
And VVC, of course, is the next generation of coding, which is what they're using for the Paris Olympics. So the technology to decode DC 8K really fast is evolving very rapidly.
With no doubt tied to AI behind it.
Well, AI is really important in upscale.
Yeah.
Because there isn't a huge amount of video content about this 8K.
Right.
Companies like Samsung have invested hugely in AI to support their upscaling. So taking full HD or 4K content and upscaling to work and look really stunning on 8K TV. It uses AI and it really makes a difference. It really makes a difference.
All right, and we should mention what other applications are there for this type of immersive?
Well, obviously, 8K events that we talked about are really important. Gaming is a big one. And VR, any kind of it's immersion, I'm just going to get this right. Blackmagic Design has a new 16K camera, which they're doing an 8K stereo version.
Yeah.
So that you can have 8K per off-band for doing video for the Apple Vision Pro.
Nice.
Because even if you've only got a 4K window,
Right.
you need 8K because you want to look round the window. So you've got to have more to start with. If you start with 4K, the bit you're looking back in the middle goes right down in resolution. So they've actually developed a camera just for the Apple Vision Pro, really, in terms of the immersive 3D. So immersive VR content is really important in 8K as well.
All right. Well, I want to just call attention. Here's a QR code where you can get more information if you want to.
Yeah, we've got a new white paper actually that goes through some of the points I've been talking about. We literally just published this month. So I've got a couple of them here, but you can also download the PDF.
I wonder who the author of that might be, Bob. I'm just guessing.
It wasn't me.
I don't know.
It wasn't me.
No, okay.
But I did proofread it.
Okay. I figured you'd have your editorial finger on it somewhere there. So again, we're down to the end of our discussion, but here is my expert on TV. If you have a question about the future of television or anything related to 8K, please ask Bob a question. And we'll bring around the microphone, for you to do that if you'd like to ask. There's a question over here. Please, sir, give us your name first.
So, Adam, I have a question for you, Bob.
Yes, sir.
How would you characterize the progress in the TV industry on the ESG side of things?
Well, green and environmental. Yeah, I mean, it's a big issue. One of the challenges for us at the 8K Association was when the EU announced new energy requirements for TVs, without, in previous versions, they had an allowance for 8K, which allowed us to use more energy. And they didn't do that in the latest version, which was very difficult because you have 4 times as many transistors between the backlights and the front. So the people of the EU had just assumed that, technology always goes on and that somehow miraculously we'd solve one of the laws of physics, but that wasn't possible. Fortunately, we found a way around that, which is to do with the way you do the test. When the first energy requirements were set up, one of the points was that you had to test it in out-of-box mode. And one of the reasons for that was that TVs at that time were being shipped in what's called vivid mode. So they were very bright. horrible pictures, but very, very bright, because in stores, people buy on brightness very largely, colour and brightness. So brands made their TVs bright so that when a retailer put it in the store, it stood out. The trouble was that used the maximum energy. So they said, well, in order to stop people shipping TVs like that, we'll make them test in the shipping mode. So in order to meet the green requirements, you had to then reduce the brightness. You got a better picture, you reduce the energy. But what it allowed the 8K TV makers to do was develop a new shipping mode, which used the absolute barest minimum energy, and therefore passed the requirement. Once you get it home, you then turn it into something that looks good.
But the impact of all those TVs turning down the energy, was substantial.
Yeah, it's also was part of the driver of that. But it's a continuous effort to try and reduce energy consumption of TVs. I can talk about it for hours if I'm busy.
Well, that's because you're very knowledgeable. Question up here with the young lady. Thank you.
Hello, thanks for the good talk. My name is Bob, and I have a question on VR.
Yes.
So my question is, do you think the emergence of such a new technology like VR or AR or whatever is along the line with maybe perhaps like fulfill the need of an extra TV at home? So maybe in the future, would we need like 2 TVs in one household? Or how will it shape the future?
There was a time when every household was getting more and more TVs. We tracked the TV market for quite a few years in Europe, and we had a model which assumed that each country would gradually increase the number of sets per home, getting closest to the highest, which I think was the UK, which was 2.4, 2.5. This is a few years ago. So people would buy a new TV, and then that TV would go in the bedroom. One in the bedroom would go into the children's bedroom, and the oldest and smallest one would probably be thrown away. But with the change over the last few years in streaming and media consumption, that stopped actually. And people started to reduce the number of sets in the home because they use tablets, they use PCs, they use smartphones, especially younger viewers, much more likely to use a mobile device. But the TV remains the key way of communicating in the home. But a few years ago, I went to IBC in Amsterdam. I should be there next weekend. And somebody did a wonderful demonstration of using a really big TV, and they were using something like 9 55-inch LCDs at the time in a tiled space. And they were showing how you could use it as a home control room with TV there and something else there, and how you could swipe the content to another screen somewhere else around the home. So as TVs get bigger, thinner, lighter, and use less energy, you get to micro LED, the potential to have multiple walls, whole surfaces, it becomes huge. And the technology exists to do all sorts of clever things with it, but we're a long way from it. it's a long way away, so it's exciting, difficult.
I'd like to add in a more philosophical, look at that. Because if you think about what we're really talking about, the TV is meant to pull in your attention, right? And it's grown to the point where we love immersive experiences. And there's a straight line from immersive experiences to virtual reality. And that line, again, if I like to read science fiction because I've been doing it for so many years, some of the things actually turn true. So, but when you look at what this dream is, the dream is to have these wall-to-wall screens, that are not only immersive, but can create virtual realities. And that there is a dotted line connected to where we're going. It might take us longer to get there, but we can tell you as older guys, you get there. I mean, when I was when I was, let's see, starting out, the dream was to have a video call. It was impossible to have a video call. And every 3 years, AT&T would come out and show us, look, we can do this. We can't, it's not commercially viable, it'll never happen, but look at this, we can do this. And now, when I go on calls, video calls, and people turn their video off, I get very angry. I waited decades for this video, and you turn it off so you have an audio call. Come on, don't do that.
Yeah, the same thing is true of 3D. Although 3D TV was tried 10 years ago and failed horribly, that was a combination of poor technology, no standardization, poorly marketing. Everything was wrong about how it was done. But in the end, if you throw away depth information, you're wasting communication bandwidth. So eventually, problems of stereo 3D will be solved. So you will see genuinely 3D wall-sized displayed, almost certainly based on micro LED, I think. Samsung's showing it's micro LED. The micro LEDs are wonderful. I've been in this 40 years and watched all these different technologies, and micro LED is got everything going for it, except nobody can make it cheap. It's only too difficult to make and too expensive. There's no other disadvantage.
Yeah. But every technology is started out that way, too expensive to make when we have smart. So,
But it's the viewing angle, speed, color,
yeah, one more question right here,
efficiency.
and then eventually, Bob, we're gonna have to move on. But we'd like to take this last question. Sir,
I have a question. Actually, I'm looking at the sheet and within the last 10 years, you see like we have made some change like from the size, from the floor, from the like immersive feeling environment. And in the last 2-3 years, we see a lot of companies like Sony, like LG, like Samsung, they're all doing the TV. But we do not see a revolutionary change on the TV. This is the first level. Second level, from the market, we see like TV are selling, the growth rate is not increasing. Because TV, if you purchase like a house, at least you need to be able to utilize 4 years, and you can change the operational system, like the operational system. And one second, we see a lot of companies like Sony, like have put a lot of money to do the innovation. And from the market, we see the demand is not huge. That's why very slow in growth rate is not stronger enough to support the money we put in. My question is that, is there a future for the TV? If not, what will be the killer for the TV? We see one thing that before people use the TV to get the news. As the sir said already today, people use the TV to get the ball, to get the gaming, and the usage becomes less than before. So we want to know that in the future, is there a future for the TV? This is the first question. The second question, if there is a future, where is the future? If there is no future, what will be the killer for the TV?
Okay,
that sounds like a good title for a session. Future of the TV.
yeah, so I'm just going to say, the TV as the immersive home centre is here to stay. People have been talking about that for 25 years. Why don't? But increasingly, people use other devices as well to watch video content. So 20 years ago, video was about TV. Now, TV is just one of the ways that you access video. Video is everywhere, all the time. So it has changed. And that's why, as I said, the number of TVs in the home has gone down. But it doesn't go away. Everybody would like to have, all the key technology companies want AR. They want an immersive experience that blends in with the real world. So like my glasses, but with vision. But that's so difficult. There's so many difficult physics and optical problems that they can't get in. The in-between is VR, or XR, as trying to get there. That's what everybody wants to get to. as the thing that replaces a smartphone. But it's really, really, really difficult. And the problem is, most of the problems are, or a lot of the challenges are optics. And there's no more support for optics.
No.
Optics is really slow to develop. So it's very, very, very challenging. But everybody knows that's where they want to be. That's why Google is putting in billions of dollars every year trying to get to that point. But it's a long way away, in my view, still.
And what's not a long way away is we have to say goodbye to Bob and move on to the next. But Bob, thank you very much. Let's have a round of applause for our expert on television. Bob, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're going to shake your hand and say thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Bob, don't forget this.